Ayo. Welcome to Benchwarmers, a WOSO podcast, episode 40, part 2. You've just come from part 1 where we talked all things World Cup qualifiers. A few teams qualified, a few teams in playoffs, shilling for England to lose. That would be the dream. But, 40, I do have another player for you, by the way. Naomi Williams, Naomi Williams, goalkeeper, Magic, number 40. That is our second 40 because, not every team will have a second 40 or a 41, but when we're getting into higher numbers here, we're going to...
Williams is leaving us as well. I think she announced that
it makes more... it makes a lot of sense. You guys need a new Swedish goalie. That's the plan for leggy ball, if I'm not mistaken. But this episode, this part, we are going to be talking about. We call them friendlies. They're not all friendlies, I'll tell you that. But we are going to start with Matildas, till I die against Mexico. The first game, the 1-0 Mexico. All right, so we're going to break this down. The lineup straight away. You look at the lineup, and there's only one word to describe this first lineup. It's wrong. The answer is it was wrong. I'm sorry. EVE in the field. Amy Sayer. I was so confused. I looked at this team. I was like, okay, we're actually not looking to win this game. We're not actually wanting to win this game. This is a Mexico side, by the way, who I don't take lightly. If you've done your research, any Tillies fans out there saying, we shouldn't lose to Mexico. Mexico hasn't conceded a goal in over a year. They have been virtually unbeaten in that process and won most of those games. It's not like they're drawing out games. They've been a very solid side. They came out with not even their best player in Scarlett Cambreros, who's fresh off a treble, and they looked the difference. They looked the goods. They were better than us. They were just better than us in nearly every way, and it's not reflective of the ranking. It's not reflective of their ability. Their ranking is not reflective of their ability, and ultimately we regressed in a way that was conducive for their counter-attacking, feisty, flamboyant football.
I think Joe Montemurro underestimated, like many coaches, like many Australian coaches, teams in South America, and how they press and how they play 1v1 and how they are so willing to be putting you in dangerous situations. And I think the overriding image that I have in my head when I think about both of these games, but particularly the first game, is that press. Playing out from the back for the Tillies has never worked wonders for us. We've not scored goals, or we're not conducive to playing out from the back. And I understand Joe Montemurro wants to have and establish a style of football that demands of us possession and demands of us build-up play, but we don't have the players for that, and I particularly don't think that we have the defense for that. And I think that comes down to Steph Catley, who is playing a type of football with the Tillies that is different from the type of football that she plays with Arsenal. She is far deeper with Arsenal than she is. We obviously know Heatley is not the centre-back option. It usually is Claire Hunt. Claire Hunt is unavailable, and so Heatley is having to play a type of football that is not conducive to her. The flanks have to do so much work already. Having to do more defensive work to cover their centre-backs is not enough. And then giving hospital passes to a midfield that doesn't do well under pressure, particularly Alana Kennedy, is going to lead to many chances. And unfortunately for Mexico, they weren't able to capitalize on all their chances, especially in the first half of this game. But against tougher sides, this will be our biggest fault and our biggest flaw. And it has been a fault and a flaw for the last 3 years, let alone just Joe Montemurro's era.
I think the second half was more indicative of the flailing, hospo passes that you're referring to, which I do agree with, in the sense of that, you can only weather the storm for so much, right? And I think EVE had moments in the first half where you do think, okay, maybe he has made the right decision, and maybe I can swallow my words. And that play, I think it was it with
Ali
Carpenter
on the right-hand side,
the one on the right side. Yeah, it was like a very nice patch of football, and it was very Jomo pilled. And he was in the Kerr was in the box, and Torpy was at the back, and it was all it looked fluid. It looked like Monty ball, right? But there eventually in the 45th, when you pass the 45th, you're starting to get close to the hour, and you have these moments in the game where those hospo passes to Alana Kennedy from a player like Winnie or Catley, right? And they go to the player, and then they get swooped up by Delgado and Bernal, who is the captain of this midfield in Mexico, that is very happy to sit behind, press hard off the backwards pass, off the slow, soft hospo pass, and then they have the runners. So Sanchez on one side and Saldivar on the other side, and Kiana through the middle, right? Like this, like Palacios, we've raved about for the last few weeks, and I mean, we've been talking about her since the Club America days of Kiana Palacios. But it's moments like that. That moment for who was it? It was the big moment was for Saldivar, right? The one that got chipped over the top, and she probably should have scored that strike. I mean, that's where she just grazed the side of that top left corner of the post. But I just think that we're watching this game where we're expecting a level of football that we can't attain, as you've mentioned before, and then we sit there watching us get counterattacked by better, greater, brighter chances, more aggressive attacking like display, because they could break so quickly, and it means that players like Catley and Arnold are forced to make really big saves, forced to make reaction diving defensive spots that Jomo definitely doesn't want to be in. And then I don't know. I feel like we're going into the second half thinking, oh, are we just going to hold out a draw? Are they just going to do this last ditch defending stuff? And yes, we had a lot of shots in that game. They blocked us about 8 or 9 times, I believe. And I think our subs weren't terrible. I think we brought on Rasso, and Rasso was pretty decent. I think we had that moment. She had that moment playing that ball to Kerr, and that probably on another day, does that go in? Maybe 100%. But Charlie Rule, Courtney Nevin, Chids, I don't know. I still don't rate Charlie Rule in that way. I still think she is playing it game in, game out for Brighton, and she does a great job. But in a Tilly's shirt, it's never really fully clicked and connected. And I think it's because of the Ellie Carpenter of it all. You are living up to an expectation that doesn't particularly hold that way. But I think Chids wasn't terrible as well. But it led to, I mean, the Nevin Rule of it all led to what was inevitable in a way, where they went out the back, they took their time, they had their moment, and we made mistakes. We made the same mistakes we have pretty much all the times we're on the back foot is where we are invited to chaos. They brought the chaos. They drove down our right side, they drove down our left side, and one of them was going to go in. It's just the sad reality of it all, that eventually they were going to break the lines. Yes, Sam Kerr can call for the handballs, and Mary Fowler had her opportunities to set up other people, but didn't really have the opportunities to finish her chances off. And I don't know, did you think it was handball? Probably. Does it matter in the broad scheme of things? No, we should be winning the game without calling desperately for handballs. And then they went down the other way. They finally got on the end of one of their many, many chances, and they end it when we don't have enough time to get on the end of the game. And it was super sub magic, right? Like this is what happens when you get a super sub of the week, a player like Diana Ordonez off the bench with Alice Soto, two subs who came in, did the business when they needed to, and it was us lacking the energy, the fire, the nous to go at this game at home and take them on and win a game that we probably should have won.
This game to me is emblematic of what I think is a cultural panopticon that occurs within this Matilda side. I believe that this team is watching themselves being watched. When they play on home soil, there is a level of pressure that comes externally that affects them internally. And I think they are not playing football for football's sake. They're playing football to appease an audience, to appease the media, to not... And look, this is why I struggle hating on the Matildas.
But do you think the Matildas effect, right, of every game being sold out is not special for every other country, because every other country's top side gets sold out? We're watching Poland games where the stadium sold out. We're watching Norway games where the stadium sold out. We're watching Wembley games for the Lionesses where it's 90,000. There's no... This isn't something they should be new to. This is football where you bring your team to the crowd at home, and everyone's there to watch it, and you should be playing your best football with your fans behind you. I feel like it's so ridiculous to say, like, oh, our fans and like our support and our ultimate like camaraderie for them is actually, I don't know, are you saying it's hampering them, or are you saying it just makes it plays on their mind, I guess?
I believe that the intense scrutiny that occurred in 2023 and onwards, and the way that we went about that tournament, and the way that the media put so much pressure on us during and after that tournament, did not recognize that there are problems in this team. There are problems within the federation and the structure of Australian football, and we were put on a pedestal that we were never going to be able to meet. The Matildas that I know are the Matildas that I've seen basically pre 2023. It hasn't changed that much. 2023 was an anachronism. It was different. It was unique to a time where we were riding off the cultural wave, where we were using that panopticon and that scrutiny that we had to our benefit. But now I see those players walk on the pitch, and I genuinely feel like they know that they're being watched. They are scared to play the football that they want to make. They're scared to make decisions, and they are ultimately scared to lose. And what happens to teams when they're scared to lose? They usually lose because they're not focusing on what's in front of them. They're focusing on the reaction. And unfortunately, this team cannot continue to rely on the same players, the same mechanisms to goal, and the same way of playing if they're going to succeed going forward. Does that mean that there has to be an intense level of scrutiny? No, we can call out the, probably sexist and probably tall poppy syndrome that will occur with this Matilda side, but a 1-0 versus Mexico does not exist within like this kind of microcosm of the Matildas. It exists within women's football and the intense scrutiny that women's football has, because it has to reach a level of grandiose and incredibleness, when really the Matildas losing against Mexico is expected if you watch the last 12 months of the Matildas, and it's expected
and you've watched the last 12 months of Mexico as well,
like, and it is a toing and froing, and it is a relationship that we have to establish within the fans of as fans of the Matildas, and also as people who live in Australia and watch the sport, is that we have to start creating a relationship where the Matildas are going to play for themselves and we are going to watch them and love them for it, not the Matildas playing for us because they are scared of how we're going to react.
I agree from the sense of that there should be no fear. I don't know if there is a fear. I don't know if it's worth even addressing. But if there is a fear, that needs to be addressed, right? And I think some of the personnel aren't good enough. I don't think we bat as deep as we think we do. I think bringing on Nevin again post the Asia Cup and what happened to her in that tournament ultimately does lead to more, like, she hasn't had the potential, the opportunity to rewrite those wrongs. And I mean, we did have the potential to right those wrongs. We went to Malawi, we went to a Chewingalus Malawi, and we went to play in Africa, and that was the moment to right your wrongs and get that moment for her. But when you're playing against Mexico, a fast, aggressive side that attacks your wingers, you're going to put Nevin in the hole again, and this is what happened. She got baited and switched, and she got caught running to the ball, attracted to the ball, and Ordonez got on the end of Soto's ball, and that was it, and that was the game. And I mean, we say this like it was expected, but it's still the first win for them over us in over 20 years. And again, our first loss since the Asia Cup final, which is fair. A team that worked hard, but then it shows how little Jomo knew his team when you watch the second game, which is what I expected more of the Tillies, in my opinion, right? Which is Claire Wheeler, Rasso, and Fowler, right? That needed to happen. That was the correct play, right? So Rasso in, and playing on the right, she just is that. Yeah. Like, there's no point trying to shoehorn in Fowler on the right and trying to make up something in the middle when Claire Wheeler can do all the dirty work. Yes, we're missing Kyra Cooney-Cross. I'm not sitting here and saying that we are the same team without Cooney-Cross, because we are not. We are a shell of the Matildas without Cooney-Cross and Gorry in the middle of the park. But Wheeler in the center of the park saves a lot of problems and brings the energy, the water carrier nature of Claire Wheeler week in, week out for the Hill Dickinson Magic in Everton. And that's how I'm feeling. That's how I'm Scott feeling. But Fowler in the 10, I mean, I've dreamed for moments like this. This is Roman Empire stuff for me personally. And look, this was a bit better, in my opinion. I think we fought way harder. I think we did look suspect at the back yet again. There was no argument about that.
I think that was our worst half.
Yeah.
Even though we scored those 2 goals, I actually think that first half from the Matildas was the worst of all 4. because the
Wow.
level of press by Mexico, the way that they
Oh,
attack.
they weren't scared of us anymore
And
as
Joe
well.
Montemuro talked about after the game, we didn't identify what type of press they were going to do. We will now translate at that onto the next game and recognize what they. And then I look at this game and I go, you haven't done anything. There's been no change. So then I think to myself, again, it's not Joe Montemuro, it's the players. It's the individuals here who are not making the right decisions, who are falling under pressure, and who are obviously not recognizing that this is a team and these are players that are up for the challenge. They think, oh, come to Australia, who cares? You're just going to let us win. No, that's not how this works. The Mexico want to come here and do what Brazil did to us 24 months ago, which is embarrass us
Mate, they smacked us.
on home soil.
Yeah. 100%. And I mean, I don't know if it's that black kit. I don't think the Australian players have played very well in this kit. I don't know what's going on. And I don't know why we look so suspect. I don't know why Winnie Heatley looked so like a fish out of water. I don't know what was going on. But Rasso was finding early moments of success. I think getting territory, getting moments to do her thing on the side. But I think, yeah, I mean, 40 as well doing her job, but it was obviously, I mean, it's kind of like we regressed into a bit of Tony G ball. I think we kind of, with the goal outlet specifically, I think the Lani Kennedy goal, the 20th minute, was against the run of play, a bit undeserved in that, like, uncharacteristic nature, but Lani scored. Shout out to the ball.
Every goal that Alana Kennedy scores is usually undeserved, I'm going to be honest. No,
you cannot diss that goal in the Asia Cup. The one where she skipped it on with her right part in against was it North Korea game where she skipped it onto her left foot outside of the box, bottom right corner. That was unbelievable. That was actually intentional. 90%
right? Of Alana Kennedy's goals come as a result of the player that is up against her just like not recognizing it's Alana Kennedy and just taking her out. Just take her out. I don't understand.
No. But the thing is, right, is that she does two players in the process of scoring that goal, and I was actually quite impressed at her ability. She's always been good aerial ability in the box, but to keep it down this time and do the things that she can do was quite impressive. And I think when it comes to a player like I don't know, a player like Torpy on the back end, a player like Fowler who did her job in the center of the park. She doesn't need to have the ball all the time. That's what I'm talking about. And I want them to have the high intensity of what was going on in the first game, but a little bit more success. If we're going to play like a little bit more aggressive and they're going to come out and swing at us and they're going to put the pressure on us, which they definitely did, right? And they did get their goal. They did get the equalizing goal from their press, which again was Diana Ordonez, amazing press, played the ball into Saldivar, who made up for it as well, right? Like she was good in the first game. She deserved a goal involvement for the second game, and shout out to them for finishing their chance. There's nothing Macca could do, and look, it was a very, I don't know, it was a moment's half. You know what I mean? Where like individual moments you can take your hat off and be like, the Matildas have done their thing and they've managed to facilitate some great chances and some great spurts, but you can definitely, as you've said, look at that half and see a lot of things that they have to work on.
And I think that with the Matildas, there is so much growth to be had. I'm not taking the Matildas as is right now because there is 12 months and beyond that really, because I don't think that we know from Australian football that it takes exceptional circumstances to get rid of a coach quickly in the women's side. But Joe Montemuro has obviously a foundation of football that he wants to build upon. As I said earlier, it's about the players and how willing they are. I think that in the first half we saw reactive football, and then in the second half we saw proactive football. I think we used Mary Fowler more in the 10 more than we did in the first half. I think that Caitlin Ford was more up for a goal. I think it became a bit of desperation. She wanted to score in her milestone game. But I also think as a unit, we moved better. We moved more, it was more fluid football. There was more breaking down of a very stodgy and quite strong backline and kind of mid to low block that the Mexican team was playing. But I think ultimately that second half was the best that we've seen the Matildas in this particular international break.
Yes, I agree. Of the four halves, even though we didn't really amount to chances, there was good chance creation. I mean, we have to talk about the two goals that we scored. I don't know how Sam Kerr is getting credit for this goal. I
I
believe
don't
that
think
is an
she
own
is. It's
goal.
an own goal.
Yeah, it is an own goal, but I remember on the
No, they said
Twitter
on the
and Instagram and everything they said it was Kerr's goal. And
no,
I'm
they
like,
said that we're
Jesus
gonna
Christ.
claim it as Kerr's goal. I was when you listen
No,
to the
you don't
commentary.
claim crap.
It was so
you don't
funny.
claim
Yeah.
crap. That is ridiculous. That is not how this works. And I
Yeah.
had to explain. To my family why that isn't Kerr's goal because it's an off-target shot. It's a bit of luck, right? And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of chances for them that skipped the overside of the bar. They had a lot of long shots, a lot of low percentage chances, and I think that this was a well-worked move. I think Carpenter does really well on that right side, as she usually always does. And that is pretty textbook Sam Kerr strike. And I mean, sometimes it bounces off, sometimes it goes in, sometimes it doesn't. But shout out to 40, who, I mean, I don't understand how ultimately how, I mean, 40 probably should have gone down in the box. I don't know why she didn't. I don't know when
rate
she
her for not
reacted to
going
it.
down in the box. I rate it.
I do rate her for not going down, but if she missed, then I wouldn't have rated it at all, to be honest. But you just go down. You got pulled. You got your shirt pulled. That's game over. But I did like Fowler and Wheeler's link-up play. I think they were working really well, especially when Wheeler gets into those aggressive positions. When we do get on top, and that was, I mean, you talk about it as like the second half performance. I think parts of it was the end of the first half, right? Like when we started getting the goals, right? That run of play up until leading up till the goal. It's probably the last 10 minutes of the first half. The last hour of this game is all Matildas, in my opinion. Once they scored, I really felt like they didn't hold the same amount of threat. They kind of regressed to our level of defensive structure, where they didn't look as miserly. Their low block wasn't as aggressive, but we were also playing faster, way more direct football. And that's what happens. Wheeler and Fowler in the middle together, you just know that there's going to be a little bit more cohesiveness, a little bit more aggression, a little bit more trust in the ability to drive the ball up with your feet instead of aerially or trying to keep the ball wide ultimately, which is not a fun thing to do. And then finally we broke down the other way. It was, I mean, Torpy all the way. Torpy, beautiful ball, and 40 finishing it off in her 150th game. We didn't even mention the fact that it was what Ellie was captaining us in the first game for her 100th game. So we are getting to a point where these veterans are hitting their milestones. I mean, I'm just waiting for Steph Catley to actually have the armband on her for sake. Jesus Christ. Like, I'm sick of this. Oh, Kerr is our captain. I'm sick of Catley getting, this is a vice captain's pass or a vice captain's shot. She is our captain. No one looks at Steph Catley and thinks that's the vice captain. Everyone knows she is the captain. But finally, I think the Tillies have earned something here. Scoring 3 goals against a team that hasn't conceded a goal for over a year is definitely commendable in that way. And yes, there is room to work on. Yes, we are already qualified, and I'm very excited for what we can do at a World Cup that I am very much planning to be at. I will be very much rooting for the fact that it should be the Wheeler, Fowler, Cooney, Cross middle 3, and honestly, that midfield 3, if they're all on their game, there are very few midfielders that can take that on in a way that is conducive to their game style. Obviously, if our game style isn't being implanted, then they will get beaten on the back foot. But when we have the ball and we're pressing and there is a bit of Jomo to it and there's a bit more fight and fire and desire and hunger in Brazil, which you'll feel the magic in the air as well. Like there is something exciting about what is coming for us. The same way that there is something exciting brewing in Brazil. Brazil versus the US women's national team. The 2 least friendlies I've ever watched in my entire life. We'll get to the second one in due time, but we will start with the first one in Neoquímica, Sao Paulo. 31,000 Brazilian fans. What's Emma Hayes saying? She's listening to the crowd. I don't know if you saw the clip. I'm sure you did. Yeah. Emma Hayes going, "Listen, girls, soak it in. Absolutely, they fucking hate you, and they fucking do. They definitely hate you. Jesus Christ, the vitriol of bringing not just it's not the US women's national team, America, bringing any American to Brazil. That is the response, and my God, did they silence the crowd very, very quickly. So I mean, this was Rodman. This is Rodman's amazing press. This was fantastic work from Trinity. Gets the ball to Sophia Wilson, who, I mean, why would you let Sophia Wilson that much space? Edge of the box, left foot, whack. I mean, it's a, first goal since, 2 years ago? 2 years ago. Crazy, crazy stuff. But I mean, shout out to the US to switch on to the game that quickly. I mean, but I expect this. This is Hayes' ball. They were locked in. They were ready to go. That midfield mix is pretty sublime. You're watching them in that kit. They look like a bunch of Avengers, like they're coming out for the dream team. And I thought, I mean, if once they scored, they silenced the crowd, you kind of thought to yourself, okay, maybe this game could set the tone and they could outrun them. And then finally, I mean, we saw Brazil turned up and they turned on, and I mean you want to do this, they found the Achilles heel. I think we know the Achilles heel of the US women's national team, and it is that left side.
And it's funny because I think that these two players, and we're talking about Davidson and Thompson, I actually think they're the strongest attacking players. I think of Davidson as a pseudo Leah Williamson. I think she's very comfortable in the ball. She can drive into midfield, and we obviously know the talent of Giselle Thompson and the way that she can drive down that flank and her connection with her sister. But on transition, when Brazil are coming towards you and they have that connection play down the flank, it's so impossible, and you have to be on target. I actually blame Emily Fox here as well. And I think that this was one of the
at the back post,
one of the rare occasions where she was completely off-sighted. She was ball watching too much, really, and she wasn't recognizing off her shoulder what was happening behind her. And I think that this just goes to show that breaking down this US defense, it takes a lot, but it doesn't take a lot when you have the quality on the pitch to do it. And I think we saw Brazil just mounting a continuous attacking threat, and I think the sugar hit that was at the start of this game for the US caught up to them, and they became anxious fighters. They were constantly looking at every 1v1 as a do or die, really, and not taking into the fact that this is a 90-minute game, and having to relax and settle into this game was more important than going quickly and trying to outrun or out physical your opposition, something that Brazil very much do, especially when they try to rattle their opposition.
And they full on bit on it, and they swallowed everything with this game. I think it was so impressive to see Brazil do basically exactly what they wanted to do from the moment that they conceded that goal, right? Which is they pressed hard, they pressed on specific passes that you would look at and think to yourself, you know what, like they could get overrun here, they could get caught out, but it was specifically when Thompson and Davidson had the ball, or when Heaps drifted left, drifted wide, trying to play centrally to players like Hutton, players like Johannes, younger, inexperienced footballers, good, unbelievable footballers in their own right, but inexperience compared to Angelina, inexperience compared to Dudinha, who are going to press, not like great players, they're going to press like Brazilian players, where they even if they lose the ball, you will feel like you've lost the ball, or you shouldn't have won the ball, because we're going to hurt you, we're going to tackle you, we're going to make this game, this friendly, very unfriendly. And look, I talked about it last time we spoke in the international break, where I said the importance of having players that play in your local leagues in your games at home, right? So obviously the Matildas have, if Matildas are a 0 out of 10 in this aspect, which is factually correct, where we have no players that we watch week in, week out in those games. That's why Holly Mack scoring a hat-trick for the Matildas in some point in the future, if she's going to stay in Australia, is so important, because we need to see talent here. We don't want to watch players, oh my God, they're so good. We see them twice. We see them twice at home, 3 times at home a year. This is where you see Morano. Morano, that header is fantastic. Palmeiras legend. Ball from Bia Zanerato. Also Palmeiras legend, right? It's the up-and-coming, the 21-year-old getting fed by the 30-year-old, and you think to yourself, wow, they're setting up the future of Brazilian football right in front of our eyes. It's almost like a hand, take the crown off and hand it to her moment, where she's equalized. And then the second goal is unbelievable from Bia as well. And it's just miserly. It's pressing hard. It's working, transitioning throwing the ball as far as they can. Johannes got nowhere near it, and they kept running. They kept driving. Bia wins the press, and she just doesn't give up on it. She keeps going, finishes in front of 30,000 fans, and the crowd goes absolutely bonkers. She does the Sui, which was unbelievable. I mean, as much as I'm not a Sui merchant, that was probably the perfect time to sue in your life. And like, they're 2-1 up, 15 minutes, 10 minutes after they conceded that goal. And man, they did what Brazil do best, which is what we watched in the Olympics, what we've watched many times before, which is they full-on rattled the US women's national team. You're seeing Rodman get a yellow card for throwing the ball at a ball at a player. You're seeing dirty, ugly, miserly tackles. You're seeing stupid like falling into the traps, which is what Brazil want. Brazil grow up with this. They grow up with like anything you do isn't going to work because they grew up playing this way, right? But you have regressed to their level. You're not playing the modest Emma Hayes, we are above you ball, where we're sinking to the level of our opposition, which is what Spain did, and they failed. And now you've done it and you failed as well.
And the Brazil that lost to America in that Olympics gold medal final was at the inception of establishing this ideology, if you want to call it, this front-facing perception. Like, what Arthur Elias has done is create a team that is incredibly good on the ball and off the ball. They're nothing taking away from the actual footballing quality, but what they do mentally to the other team is really subjugate them. It is taking them and stripping them of what they know, which is, in this case, confidence. In Australia's case, when they came and played against us, it's that fluid and that flowing football. Against Spain, the same thing. It's how you attack the weaknesses or even the perceived strengths of a side and turn them into weaknesses. And I think what Emma Hayes said perfectly after this game, and as you alluded to earlier, was soak it in and recognize that this is the atmosphere you're going to be entering in at the highest point of your international
in a year's
career.
Time.
And that is, I think, what the US learnt from this game. And I have to commend the US for doing something that a lot of other teams haven't been doing, and go to Brazil early and play this team and see what happens when you're facing up against not only 11 but 30,000 people as well. And that atmosphere just creates and makes what we saw in the second game as well.
And we play in Africa. That's right. Like, literally, like, that's the thing. Emma Hayes handpicks her opposition. They haven't gone back to America to win another game in Cincinnati, and Rose Lavelle, and she can wear a red power hat. Yeah. And Emma Hayes is all happy and dandy as a new, fresh new yank. But you have a goalkeeper in Lele. I mean, oh my God, this performance, by the way, this is an all-timer Corinthians goalkeeper performance right here, where Hutton had a big moment to score in this game. I mean, there were so many chances for the US to get back in this game, and Lele made some absolutely ridiculous saves. I don't know how she's kept them one goal ahead, but obviously Emma Hayes was going to fight back. Obviously Johannes heaps. Who's another one? Jaden Shaw was going to come on and try and do something. You had Sears come on as well. I mean, there were some late subs, to be honest, from her, but Lavelle came on. There were many moments for the Brazilians to falter. There were some handballs, the handball shouts that they had. I mean, I think it was Bia Zanerato as well, was the handball shout, which definitely could have been it. You had a moment. Who was it? Was it Pattinson? Was probably the best moment, the one that dragged wide, I think. But I don't know. This is a game where you look back on it and you think to yourself, there is a lot to learn for the US, but if I'm Brazil, I'd be looking at this like, this is the feeling. This is the feeling we're going to try and replicate in a year's time. And in fact, I would kind of rate it if they replicated the feeling of the second game, to be honest, because that might have been one of the all-timer games, to be honest. And we can finish off with the last bits of the first game being that McGlynn made a ridiculous chipping save. She did amazingly well to keep it from 2-1, and they had the added time, and ultimately the US were to no avail. And I think that the best moments had been done, and Lavelle had that last deep lying cross that did have a lot of chaos on it, but ultimately nothing in the end for Jaden Shaw, which I mean is fine. Like, again, I don't think this game meant as much for them in the sense of that they knew they had one extra to go after, and they blew the whistle, and all the US fans and all the US players were saying, oh, it should have been longer because they stopped the game and all this crap. But I kind of rated that they needed to lose. I love Marta going to the camera with Tarsian. That was jokes at the end. But it was the second game, the only game that people are going to talk about in this game. Right? So this is the 1-0, the 1-0 Magic in Fortaleza, El Stadio Governador, which, I mean, this game will forever be known as, I mean, there's so many names you could give this game, but ultimately it is just a bonanza of a football match. This is the 4 red cards. Was it 4 players got red carded? I believe it was another 4, what do you call it? On-field
coaches,
staff, technical staff, Magic. It felt like athletic. It felt like a Madrid derby. I feel like this is the new derby. We're talking about games like England and Spain is like a competitive rivalry, right? So it's a rivalry of respect. We don't see this like, mate, Ona Battier and Lucy Bronze are bloody best friends. Like, they're more than best friends. Like, they love each other. But Brazil and USA is the spiteful rivalry. This is the rivalry we love. This is the rivalry we want. This is the rivalry we need in WOSO that creates camaraderie. I love that the US think that Brazil play this yucky, disgusting football. It is football. That's football. Football in South America is fighting words. It isn't just the graceful beauty of players like Rose Lavelle and Lilia Harness. It's the fight, the miserliness of Ari Borges. It's the anger of Carolyn, Via, Tarsian. I've given all the crap to Tarsian this year for being the most overpriced, overrated. But to come on with that fight, that miserliness, I mean, we could talk about this match for an entire podcast, technically.
And I think that the key figures that really changed and shifted the US's posture in this game, I'm looking at Patterson, I'm looking at Cooper, I'm looking at Sears. They are big game players, but also players that rose to the occasion. I think Michelle Cooper
Wesley
as well. I think Michelle Cooper was especially good on that right-hand side. I think she did something that Trinity Rodman was, I think, afraid to do, which was confront the fullback, invert inside, actually make space for the likes of Sophia Smith, and also Rose Lavelle, who didn't have an exceptional game, but it was a very open midfield. And the goal that came, which was Sophia Smith's goal, wasn't like it was really unfortunate because I think that Lorena had an exceptional game and was easily the standout players on both legs. But I think that the way that goal came about was both Sophia Wilson's incredible carving out of space and seeing that there's a little pocket that she can slide into, but it was also because of that midfield being so open and because the recognition of allowing players time and space to do what they need to do and saying, Brazil, you sit back all you like, we're going to confront you now. And it was a bit of that, turn and that bait and switch, as you mentioned before, about how are we going to now flip it on you to have to come and attack us. And I think what Emma Hayes did was, I think, exceptional and going to show why I think the US is going to be a true competitor in the next World Cup.
I mean, we can go on to the specific, the start, the starting of the game was pretty feisty. I think they were already starting, they were already foreshadowing what was going to happen. I feel like Haas's offside goal was quite harsh because they were brought down in the box. There was the whole second phase stuff. Yeah. They knew they were never going to call that a goal ultimately. But, I mean, it was the rebound. I mean, that rebound, I cannot believe they didn't score that. Was that Sears, I believe? Yeah. Sears was the one on the end of that chance, and Wilson incredible. As well. There was just unbelievable saves, that double save. Wilson was the one who missed in front. But was it Lavelle who struck the first one, I believe? Or was she was at the edge of the box? Well, Lavelle was waiting behind. She was waiting for the pass back. But I think that should have been a certain goal, right? And you kind of knew that. We kind of just knew that the US were going to win this game. It was just a matter of how, and ultimately it did come. And I mean, from many a chance that was missed, right? I think they were fearing the goalkeeper element of this game. Lete was just doing the job. Lorena turned into La Reina in goal, really. But it was Lavelle. Lavelle scores that chance how many times out of 100? It's so obvious, but it was it was not to be. It was that weird strike from Wilson that copped a deflection. I don't know. Was it given an own goal because it was off target? Kind of.
Yeah,
It was kind of off target. It wasn't given to her. But I mean, this game is no longer about the game. Post the goal, and the myriad of 3-on-1 chances that they were going to miss.
Yeah.
I mean, specifically, what was that? What was that one? It was in the second half that was really, really bad. That I think it was was it Sears who hit the post as well, or was that Lavelle? It's so hard with that specific
Moultrie as
pattern
well.
of
Same
Moultrie, the three of them in that corner. That just like switch and rotate so much, and they can all play in basically every position. But I mean, the game just changes at when it was all about goals. It was all about magic. It was all about Rodman and Moultrie all coming on. Sears doing the magic, but then it was. I mean, this is what happens. The last 30 minutes, we get. Well, I don't know how to describe this. Do we just going to call it the bonanza, the red card bonanza, the chaos ball? After what we can call probably the lightest push leading to the biggest of events.
Yeah, that was horrendous call, and the fact that they didn't go to VAR was quite surprising to me. But I did actually feel this is a bit going off topic, but I felt that in the game it was very pro American refereeing, and I felt like that it was, and I felt that the epitome of that was this push, because look, you can call it whatever you want, but Emily Sonnet was putting out her best Oscar nominated performance in that light graze on her head that she fell over. But the other ones I can totally accept.
The ref took it personally though. The ref took it very personally. Yeah. Everything that was said to the technical official, we don't know. And I mean, look, I mean, she runs in. It's kind of this moment where you look back on it and you think to yourself, okay, it makes sense why she's gone down in that way. It's a very good save to the corner flag. She's run harder than her to the ball, yeah. And I mean, the push is very marginal. It is very soft in the way that is conducive to no one getting sent off on the field, but it woke everyone else up. Like Maritza definitely woke up everyone else from that moment on, and it spiked up the game to a level that we didn't think was possible. Really, I didn't think that. I feel like Moultrie went down over the corner flag, and we don't know what was going to happen in the sense of like how this game was going to wake up. Every single call, every single whistle that happened was now contended. And that's what happens when you open the game up to like all the excessive reds, is that people are going to complain. Carolyn was losing her mind at some of the calls, especially like the one that they gave against Carolyn was hilarious, and they gave her a yellow for that, for contending the moment. But they just kept going. Every single play was stopped, right? So Dicky goes to take her chance, and then she just gives another yellow to Zanerato. Zanerato is off the pitch, and you're just like, okay, so are you just going to give? Are we going to play five-a-side football here? Like, what are we actually doing?
This is the real world sevens, man. This is it.
Yeah. I mean, we literally got we literally complained so much that we got a World Sevens moment from that stupid push from Zanerato on Sonnet. But I mean, the push on Moultrie was soft. Every push in this game is just dive galore. Carolyn's complaining. Carolyn complains so much that she basically gets sent off in that way. Dicky gets a yellow card. Heaps gets a yellow card. Sears, there was no football anymore. It's the 94th minute. We're watching this game, and I don't know if anyone wants to look at the like spread of cards that get thrown out of here. Like it's like I can't believe what happens. And then like we finally get the tiniest semblance of football post 95th minute. Finally, we're going to play football. They're still arguing with the ref. They're still going. And you're just like, okay, at what point you don't send them off, you just start the game. If you're a referee, we all know this, and I understand it's like the top flight, and I didn't get to that point. But Zanerato was still on the bench. She needed to go into the tunnel. I don't know why she was still there. But we finally got some football. And then what happens? The next time there's a foul, the next time there's a little bit of spice, we end the game. Well, we should have just ended the game there. Who cares about the added time? Don't add the added time. Just let them play and don't contend every single play. But it was so funny. I found it so hilarious that every single foul was met with so much vigor and anger. The Tarsian one was given a straight red, right? That was the straight red tackle.
Red, and I agreed with with that.
Yeah, finally.
did-
You know what? Congrats to the ref for picking one of the tackles that was worthy
Not only
yeah.
because I'm like a mad Tarsian hater. Like I do
Yeah.
not rate her at all.
No, I mean you can't elbow someone like that,
But I guess
like,
to your point, I feel like everything was heightened, but I think it was
Oh, yeah,
purposely
100%.
heightened. Like it felt like there was a pact before the game, which was like, okay, if one of us starts like losing our heads a bit, we're all gonna lose our heads because at the end of the day, like you're trying to replicate environment, and you're trying to see what happens to a group of players once they're put under so much pressure. I think that the US team came out the best here, not just because of the obvious
because they had
non-red
no red cards
versus the 8 red cards of the Brazilian team. Obviously not because of that.
Yeah.
But I also think because there is an expectation if you're a team going up against Brazil that you have to meet them somewhere, whether it be halfway or even a bit further to that antagonistic perspective. USA were like, we're just going to play football and we're also going to heighten it up a bit to make you seem like the antagonists here and us like the sad white little victims, right? And honestly, it became something where it was like it became the Brazilians were seen by the referee and honestly by us as viewers as purposely doing this as a result of the style of football and the tactics that they were trying to endorse versus the US who were trying to play football. Obviously, we know that is not the case. The US will do the exact same thing given the environment to do so. But it's in this situation, it just came off like Brazil looked like the enemy here, and the American players looked like these poor little American players having to come on and get absolutely bashed by these Brazilians. Like obviously that is not what happened. It was a lot of toing and froing in this game.
Oh, 100%. There's no other way to look at it other than the fact that like there was one who was very much antagonized and bit, and that was the thing. The first game they bit differently, and in the second game they bit it in a way that wasn't the same, right? And you have this moment in the game where you're watching a player like Carolyn, who doesn't get sent off that much, a player who isn't really the antagonizer in that way. Like yes, some things don't go away in a game, and it's a bit different. But I'm watching players like Ari Borges. I'm watching players like Ludmilla. I'm watching players that are going at the ref post-match, post-game, and it is a bad look. And in the game, I'm all for it. I'm sorry, I am all for it. I might be the contrarian here, but ultimately, if the US did that, I'd kind of rate them leaning into the fact that the entire world hates them. No one wants the US to win the World Cup other than US fans. I'm sorry, it's just true. And like you can play the good guy all you want in this game. Brazil are the heroes and the US are the villains in this game. When you're at home, you are the vitriol. You listen to the loudness of the boos in the stadium in Fortaleza. It's fucking crazy. It's absolutely insane how aggressive it is. The way they're clapping in front of the ref. The ref is taking it super, super aggressively.
Personally,
which is
I thought
fine.
she was taking it personally.
No. I don't think it was necessary to go all out to that level.
I don't believe in red cards after 90 minutes. What's the point?
Yeah,
You're taking them off a pitch.
In a friendly as well. In a friendly is wild. But I just found it so funny. The Ari Borges one is my favorite one. The one where she just claps in front of her.
Yeah.
Like that is absolute box office stuff. But look, 8 red cards, 1 own goal. You can't really ask for much more in football. I kind of rate it. And that kind of covers everything we have for our friendlies. Geez, those 4 games of magic, to be honest. But we are going to move into a quick fire contracts, extensions, rumors, retirements, all of the things. We're going to go firstly with the biggest and the best of Alexia Putellas, basically verbally pretty much agreeing, signing contracts with LCL. It is done. My GOAT is now KANG peeled. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. I can't believe she's at Bromley. It's just a weird world we live in where, I get it, but I don't get it in the way that there is money elsewhere. I did think that the Club America move, the Tigres move, could have been on where they could have provided that monetary greatness for her that she rightfully deserves, but also they probably just didn't see it was worth the time and the energy, especially if they just won the treble without her. What do you need with her, right? They've already done it without her. So LCL, it puts them in a position where they're going to be rivaling Spurs. They're going to be rivaling United. They're going to be putting they're trying to plant their flag in the WSL to be like, you know what? Forget about what we were. Forget. This is a pre and post era. We can talk about the pre-KANG era of London City Football Club, the London Bees. We can talk about the post-KANG era, but now we are talking about a pre-Alexia era of LCL, and we are now talking about a post-Alexia era, a current era of LCL with Alexia, and the sky is virtually the limit. I actually don't know how good she will be, but if she is anywhere near as good as she will be, she is already eclipsed, in my head, United and Tottenham for what they can be.
I think that we can both criticize and also be incredibly interested in what Alexia has to offer in the WSL. But I'm looking at Alexia as, again, one of the symptoms of this LCL project. She's creating what is going to be a massive club, whether we like it or not. And it's up to her and her teammates to reach the expectations. We can't do anything about it. We're mere fans. So we look on and we have our opinions.
Not yet. Just wait. La Reina meet La Benchwarmers. That's what we're talking about.
But we, as I said, we sit here and idly watch as these players go to clubs that we deem as morally irreprehensible and see as a complete default move when you could be doing greatness elsewhere in a club that matches your standard and also what you believe to be the future of women's football. But this is on KANG now. She can't fail. And if she does fail, then it just goes to show, in the words of Katakoi, money isn't everything. And I think that that's the most important thing to take away from this. You can still love Alexia Putellas and remember the 14 years that she had at Barcelona, whilst also being like, okay, but she will be, and this is where we have to take our Alexia hats off and be like, if they don't do well, there is going to be questions on Alexia Putellas as much as there will be on KANG. We, as Alexia fans, might want to divert that conversation and be like, well, it's not all on one player. It's usually the institution and the team around her. But she has become now not only the marquee for London City, but I believe the marquee player for the WSL, and will prove to be how players transition in their later years to the WSL, especially Spanish players. And I think it'll be a very interesting situation and environment that she enters into and how she leaves it as well.
And before anyone even says like the whole LCL move is uninspired, Alexia is saying it in a way that is relatively uninspiring. She is saying it in a way where she doesn't want to rival Barcelona.
Yeah.
Do you understand
It's a
how
backhanded compliment.
you're putting the limit on the club as fourth? You're saying that LCL can't finish above fourth. You're saying there's no way, or because KANG's project is basically like hog-tied to the WSL based on how illegal it is to have two multi-clubs in the same competition, you are basically superseding your own capacity to be the best version of yourself by saying, oh, I'm just never going to play in Europe again. I'm just not going to play European competitions again. And whether LCL can rival the top four, if they end up top three, if they end up higher than us, which is I think is possible, they have one competition to worry about. They have the two cups, which I think with Alexia, who knows? The girl's allergic to silverware. She could win them both on her own, right? The WSL, if they finish higher than United and Spurs, I genuinely think like there will be predictions out there with Alexia in the side where people are putting LCL third, top three, top even higher. They don't. The sky is the limit for a team with La Reina, and the part that is the scariest that we all know beyond Alexia's individual brilliance is she makes everyone else around her better. The Izzy Goodwins, the Lucia Corraleses, the Jana Fernandezes. If Muppy goes there, like if they have four Barcelona players, two of which who've played together for 10 years or whatever, Muppy and Lexi playing together since the dawn of time, and then Jana Fernandez, who is going to benefit off Alexia Putellas, Lucia Corrales, imagine Freya Godfrey with a bit of Alexia spice in her game. Like there is no chance that they're not. I mean, Gioro having the luxury of a Putellas next to her, DVD. Like this is the thing, right? They have players, they have good players, they're old players, but they're squeezing out. They're a project not for the future, they're a project for now. And there is no reason why if they finish fourth, we shouldn't be going, oh my God, they finished fourth. It's, you know what? Fair enough. They finished fourth. They have Putellas. They've spent more than anyone else. They have the two record signings in the WSL in Gioro and Putellas. Gioro was hampered with injuries last year, but now we're on the chopping block here.
And the expectations are on them now. I don't think that we would put the same expectations on a team that was newly promoted last year, had a very, very good season by their standards, and now goes into their second season. No one is saying that that team now has to finish top four, but because LCL have put themselves in this predicament, they put the pressure on themselves. And if they can't meet that pressure, then we have a right to criticize them. We have a right to criticize them, and I think that that's fair. And we have a right to criticize the players for making the choice to move there. We have. I
don't want to see if we beat LCL 3-4-0. I don't want to see Alexia in a team that's down 4-0.
That's
like, I don't want to see that. I know it's her choice, but it's just it's just sad. Like I'm going to be rooting actively against my goat. Like I'm never at a point where like even like when I was watching City versus Barca and we were beating them and we beat them 2-0, right? And even their game where they're 4-1, like you are sad, but there is a recognition of like level that they aren't meeting. This is going to be like Alexia could be trying her hardest to facilitate for players who just can't finish their dinner. They can't score their goals, and we're going to see a serious like maverick in the WSL that I don't think people realize how good she is in terms of what the move represents, especially for the WSL where we haven't seen the Mavericks shine in that way since, I don't know, the Russos and Jameses of Manchester United, since the Grace Clintons of Tottenham and also Man United in that way. Like, there are certain clubs that let the Mavericks shine, and this is one of those cases where we're going to see a serious Maverick. But we are going to move through to a former teammate of Alexia's in Sandra Panos, who is now riding the wave. She's gone from South America or Central America to North America in San Diego. I mean, it's a great shout, isn't it?
I have a lot of mixed feelings about this because the goalkeeping situation for San Diego is like particularly interesting. They have one goalkeeper who's basically their starting goalkeeper, and Didi. She has only lasted 2 seasons at the club. And then you have 2 younger keepers, one coming in from South America, the other one a homegrown talent. And they haven't been able to secure a number 1 keeper. It reminds me very nichely of the Sydney FC predicament of last season, where they couldn't fit 3 goalkeepers into the 1 goalkeeping position. Sandra Panos is a legend, an absolute legend, incredible goalkeeper.
Won it all.
She will elevate San Diego, especially coming from, no offense, the quite mediocre goalkeepers that San Diego have, and that's not to
and weathered to top 4 still.
And that's not to say that, you know, San Diego are wholly reliant on a fantastic goalkeeper. I do think that they need other fixes in this system that is not wholly broken, but there needs to be fixes. I think that Sandra Panos, though, is an inspired move. I think it's interesting that Club America are willing to give up such a talisman and a leader, but I also think it's interesting that she chose to move to the NWSL. And I think that goes to show that the NWSL is still an appealing place even after you've done the whole MX treatment. You know, like everyone thinks MX is the next big thing. I stand by it, but players are still willing to go, you know what, MX was great, but I want the competition of the NWSL. I want that rivalry and that equilibrium that I get when I play in the NWSL.
Why not? And if you're going to be the number 1, you've probably been guaranteed the number 1 spot as in the goals. I mean, Wave are a top 4 side. They're a top 4 side without a good goalkeeper. Sandra Panos can take her to new heights. There was a time where Sandra Panos was the best goalkeeper in the world, and that time is not now. But again, 33 years old for a goalie is not old, and I'm happy to see the last remnants of Sandra Panos in a shirt that could potentially win an NWSL Cup, potentially win the league. Who knows? What the sky is the limit for the Wave, who are riding a semblance of form, who are riding a semblance of a high right now. And strengthen positions of strength, strengthen positions of questions and clarity as well. And there is no question about that the Wave will be benefiting from this Liga M exodus that is currently going on at the moment. But we are going to move to Vansguard, more like Villa's Guard, more like Villa trying to replace Hansen and finding another strike. I mean, they should have just gone for Veens. I mean, imagine having a front 2 of Salmon and Veens, the 2 statistically and optically worst strikers I've ever seen in the WSL.
Oh my God.
And Chastity Grant in behind in the 10 in that Arroyo 3-5-2. Right, leggy ball, Arroyo ball. But Vansguard to Villa, I mean, she is a bit more clinical than Veens. And I think, I mean, ultimately that Vansguard was very good in the international break, very useful, very valuable minutes, very impressive strikes. So maybe this is what they need, a bit more of a clinical striker that has done the business at Juventus, and will provide, I don't know, I would say 10 to 12 goals for Villa for the season.
Well, you talk about clinicalness, and I look at the 19 games and the 3 goals and the 2 assists in the league, and I think that this is a move that is probably Arroyo driven, and she probably sees something that the stats don't show. And I think that I would be very interested to see how she molds that front line around her. I think that we saw how good Hansen was, and for me personally, I think it was a mix between the quality of the player and finally, after years and years of kind of being underrated and kind of shipped off by the likes of Manchester United off to Villa, and then finally getting that big season that she had. I think that now it's time for an international to do that at Villa, and I think Arroyo will be. I'll be interested to see how Arroyo coaches and kind of moves the system around. I don't think it will be a 3-5-2. I think that they'll start shifting to a 4-4-3, a 4-3-3, and I think it'll be much more solid in the spine. I think it'll be spine driven. I think that the flanks will turn more
Yeah, I
inverted.
hope so. Especially with the way in which they got absolutely slept in some of those games in that middle patch of the WSL. You really hope that there's a possibility that they can recoup some form and then fire some more goals in with the massive chance creation that she does have. But it is Veens who is leaving Roma, which, I mean, finally, I mean, that we were expecting this. Yeah, we called it out how many times? 3, 4. We did all the maths. Leggy, you got Leggy to do maths, Evelyn Veens. That is cruel. That my Canadian goat is a cruel person to Leggy. I'm so sorry. But where does Veens go? Only Veens knows. That's the dream, is the dream of Veen. I mean, I would like a Veen and Vine team up. I think that wherever Veen goes, Vine should follow.
Wow.
Yeah,
what
you know
a
what?
link up.
I'm all for Veens and Vines. Yeah, that would be an amazing moment for football if they team up. If we have a player that's replacing the Roma magic that's there, I believe it's going to be Piemonte. Piemonte,
crazy.
Lazio legend. That's the rumor right now, is that Piemonte is the potential move. Or, I mean, they are looking at Oliviero as well from Lazio. Both of them, Lazio magic to Roma. They do need to bolster that attacking brilliance for the Champions League, and who better to get than two 28-year-olds, mature age Italian legends, pure Italianos in that way, who also scored in the international break as well. Both of them doing the business for Italy. These two need to be there. I think they need to be there to save up the fact that Veens is going, and I know that they have a much better conversion rate than Veens in that realm, and they'll be very useful for the Champions League so that Roma can make their mark in ways that they couldn't this season.
There is a bit of that football Luddite in me, which goes, there is no way that a Roma player or a Lazio player can go to Roma. That not only, like, we talk about that in, like, the English context of being, like, you might get yelled at. In here, you might get hate crimed. Like, it is Roma and Lazio, guys. Like, it's insane. But I think that Piemonte, well, I mean, we saw her in that last game week. She's
Baller.
exceptional.
Oh my God.
She was exceptional for Lazio this season. I think she was their standout player. But I think for Italy as well, I mean, the Roma contingent in Italy now, either ex-Roma or now Roma, is going to be one of the foundations for how Italy move forward. And Roma are just building. I mean, a double this season could turn into a treble next.
That would be that would be the beginning of the dynasty ultimately, and that's how you start those dynasties. We are looking at a weird Real Madrid dynasty that's coming on, the perennial second dynasty, the Washington Spirit of the Liga F in sense, moving to Real Madrid from Frankfurt, a team that's in third in Germany to a team that is second in Spain. I don't know if this moves the needle. I don't know if anything will ever move the needle. But it does bolster that midfield that we said needed replacing, that Angadal, the Brits, what's her name? Oh my God, Dorado. Yeah, Dorado's good, but Dorado is young. Sense is not young. Sense is mature and established. But I'm thinking of someone else, Fella, and oh my God, the French girl. Who's the French girl that I always forget her name? Toletti. Thank you very much, Ben's brain, for getting that one. But yes, I think Sense is better than a lot of them, and I think Sense will provide a semblance of like touch and feel, a bit more creative capacity. Take the weight off Sarah de Brits from doing everything, I guess.
Well, Sens was one of the most underrated players in Germany's campaign in the Euros, and I think one of the most underrated players for Frankfurt. I think if you look at how she is both defensively and as an attacking threat, incredibly dangerous and incredibly astute. There's going to be some level of equaling out in this Real Madrid team. We obviously know how top heavy they are. They need to work on the defense, and especially in the defensive midfielder position. They can't hold on to a 4-1-4-1 and have a single player in that pivot and have it be a child. And I think having Sens there, if she's going to play that position, will ultimately reap rewards for a team that does leak a lot of goals, especially in Europe. So I think that Sens is a move for Europe as much as it is for the Liga F. But I also think it's one step closer to trying to fill the Caroline Weir shaped hole that I think will take at least 3 players, honestly, to try and fill that.
There's no replacing. We cannot replace. We can't replace her. No way. Absolutely not. Caroline Weir is numbers. Numbers go. Optics go, like everything, the flair, the flick, the output is crazy. I forgot to mention Regina van Eyck, which we did talk about in the Dutch games in part 1, as not the answer to the fact that DVD is injured, has just moved to Bayern. Sorry, I was going to say to Bayern from the where has she come from? I think she's gone from the Dutch league specifically. Which is pretty impressive. And I mean, I think that she will be an important factor in the sense that Marmutovic needs that second goalkeeper behind her that's a bit more mature age, 24 years old, can do the business, and also can do the business in the European games when they're trying to manage double game weeks. So Marmutovic doesn't have to do everything. But alongside that, we do have Martina Fenger, who's leaving Barcelona be the La Masia. I was going to say Malasia, which is so funny. La Masia, she's leaving Barcelona to go to Hoffenheim. I don't know if this is a Searchy link-up vibes or is this the Searchy replacement? I think it's the Searchy replacement.
This is the Searchy replacement so much so that I'm more confident that Searchy comes to Arsenal because of this. And I think that it's a great move for Fenger personally. I think that I don't think that it's going to be easy to replace Searchy, but I think Fenger is a fantastic player that it's sad that she didn't go out on loan because I think that, keeping a player like Fenger, especially when you're probably going to start losing those big players up top, I'm thinking of CGH and potentially someone like Salma as well. You would like to have these backups, and it just goes to show the weight that Barcelona have and what they see from particular players. They've kept Schertenlaeg, obviously, but they're letting go of someone like Fenger. It's interesting, but I'm fascinated to see how she fits into this Hoffenheim system, but I am assured that it'll be very easily fitting in and scoring at least 10 goals, 15 goals this season.
You hope so. I hope so. It is scary when you see them come over and they're really young and they aren't able to adapt to the league. So I'm going to hold my tongue on like a 15, 20 goal season in the Bundes because it is a hard league. I would love to see it, but I don't know if she will. Like, it is hard to do that at that age, and if she adjusts well and does the damage that I think she is able to do, then maybe it could happen. But I feel like it could be without Searchy, without the support that you do have at Barca, it will be harder to facilitate for yourself in that way. But we're going to do some quick fire extensions. Maria Perez, LCL, another few years, another 2 years. I mean, this is impressive in the sense of that they've kept a 24-year-old. Yeah. Congratulations. Zaremba, extra year at UD Tenerife, will be 26 years old at the end. I would love Zaremba at my club. UDT backline being godly this season, so there's no reason to not bring her in that way. But I mean, I think she's somewhere else bound if she's only signing a 1-year contract. Lete has signed a 2-year contract with LCL, which is crazy. Killing off any potential moves for Atleti, who have re-signed Alexia Fernandez till 2030 and Oterman till 2028. What is in the water at Atleti that is keeping these players there? I have no idea, but whatever's working for them must be working properly. But the only one left of the extensions that we haven't mentioned is the legend of Arsenal, the Champions plate winner. Caitlin Ford signs. Is it a 1-year deal? They actually didn't say. I didn't see it properly. They didn't say a year on it. Maybe she signed for 8 years, and we don't know.
I think she signed the lifelong contract, and we have to sit here watching as we watch like a 38-year-old Caitlin Ford walk on the pitch. Look, I love Caitlin Ford.
Me defy Caitlin Ford.
This is going to become this is going to become very anti-leggy what I'm going to say, but I need you to stay with me. Okay. There is pre-infidelity Caitlin Ford and post-infidelity Caitlin Ford, which basically means...
I can't believe what I'm hearing right now.
Pre-2023 Caitlin Ford and post-2023 Caitlin Ford. And post-2023 Caitlin Ford is a Caitlin Ford that is holding herself back. She has a type of football that she plays which is conducive to a lot of the good things that we saw from the best of Caitlin Ford, but she ties herself in knots. It's the same patterns of play. It's the same reliance on, let me get the ball literally on the line so I can tap it in, rather than passing it off or looking for a cutback or looking for the best opportunity to score 2 steps before you start to do like step overs and rollovers. Like, you don't need to do all that, right? And I think that it's important to mention that Arsenal have simultaneously moved on for Caitlin Ford, but Caitlin Ford hasn't moved on from Arsenal. And I think that that's important. I think Renee sees that this is a player still willing to play for the badge, and I think that that's important. But there's also a player there that I think what we saw in that middle part of the season was genuine willingness to fight. And I think that if we can translate that
when the contract was on the line,
if we can translate that little bit of like, if we can make the Champions Cup every cup for Caitlin Ford, then she's one of our best wingers, right? But we haven't seen it basically since fucking Handshake Gate, right? Like, I can't believe I'm saying it like that, but it just
well, no,
happens
the Champions
to be.
League final. The Champions League final.
She was exceptional, but I think that there were bigger players on the day, and I think that when we go to the big games,
but that was a collective performance.
Yeah,
that I mean, some of the moments of her. I agree. The attacking displays haven't been there, but as you said, for the badge moments, we are seeing that.
Yeah.
We're not seeing it enough anymore. We did see it in the Champions Cup, whatever that means, and we did see a moment for her. But I do agree that the attacking display hasn't been varied. There's an argument to say that her football, like her ability, hasn't gotten better.
No,
like
and
she,
I think it's gotten worse.
like.
I think it's gotten
worse.
And
that's the problem, is that we're looking at parts of her game that aren't being added in, right? So the off season this is the time for Caitlin Ford to work out that next combo that she can use to beat out a player. She's a combo player. She's not a run down. She's not the fastest player on the pitch anymore. She's not driving up the wing with 99 pace and driving up on the back of the shots. That's not the 25-year-old Caitlin Ford anymore. We're talking about a player who beats players with combos. We're talking about a player who uses her timing and her finishing to her advantage. And we're watching her resort to being second to the ball. Even the goal she scored against Mexico, I would argue she should have gone down earlier, but the strike is deflected. The strike isn't exactly what she wanted. There's no way that's what she wanted. And it's fine. She gets the moment. She gets the goal, and it's great. But Caitlin Ford is a player I guess we judge quite harshly because we know what she is capable of, and we know what she could be for Arsenal, in the sense of that I shouldn't be talking about Liv Smith starting over her. I shouldn't be talking about Smilla Holmberg being the next one in the pecking order off the bench ahead of her. But the reality is that is the case. Yeah. 100%, and that covers all our extensions. We're going to talk about departures. We're going to talk about the Mary Earps, who did all that Duolingo, for all that French work. She learned all that stuff for all those interviews, all that magic, all to just give her announcement, her departure announcement in the French. She's so going back to England. I don't know if it's LCL though. I don't know if it's LCL. When they've signed Lete for 2 years, I wonder who needs the goalie the most. I'm thinking, weirdly, I mean, you're going to hate this, but I think it's Tottenham. No,
I
think they're the one. I think that's the team that needs her the most. I think that's the team that wants her the most out of the top 6. I don't see her playing ahead of Tallis Joyce. I don't see her ahead of Yama, DVD, or or Lete if you're going to re-sign her. So there is a position at Villa where you don't have a goalkeeper. You have Sabrina and Roebuck, where you don't have a position for a third goalkeeper. So in my opinion, if you're going back to England, it's just got to be Tottenham.
I find it fascinating because I think that Mary Earps and the kind of conundrum that we have in the WSL, they don't really fit together. I don't think that Mary Earps and the type of goalkeeper that she is fits within the WSL right now, because I don't think the WSL has a goalkeeping problem. I think that the
No,
worst quote
we've got
unquote
an abundance of class.
yeah, the quote unquote worst teams in the WSL actually have some of the strongest keepers, and I think that that's one of those. It's an oxymoron that exists within the WSL, but I would be looking at going somewhere that again challenges her. I think PSG challenged her. I don't know if it was for the best, because we didn't necessarily see that translated into international form. Like, we only saw it in the club model. But now that she's retired from international football, it really is, how much can you give to a club? And doing it in the WSL is one thing, and doing it in your prime is one thing, but doing it now, coming back, it feels a bit desperate. And honestly, I think that if she wanted to improve as a goalkeeper, and if she wanted to have the last few years of goalkeeping be successful rather than completely scrutinized, which it would be if she goes back to England, go to somewhere like Italy, go to Spain, go somewhere where you would be challenged and also
You're
be
better than
attached.
Is she better than Boldy? Better than Boldy?
No, I don't think so. But at the same
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
I take Mary Earps and Per Mignon as a very similar class of goalkeeper, where they're great, but they're so anachronistic. The football is not Mary Earps football anymore. She needs to go to a club that desperately needs a keeper, and particularly keepers
Maybe
who are
NWSL.
younger. And maybe. But I mean, the NWSL is its own basket case of goalkeepers. There are so many goalkeepers in the one club usually. It'll be hard to see how she is distinct. But maybe, yeah, a Mackenzie Arnold move for her might not be the worst thing in the world.
I think it's Tottenham, and if it's not Tottenham, she's really going to struggle to find a team that is worthy of her level, of her accolades, the things she's done, the things she's achieved in football. I think it's hard to see it that way. We have agreed to Beth Mead, according to El Guardian. Sure, makes sense. Join up with your partner. She won't start. She just won't start. She'll play the games that don't really matter, but you're not ahead of Fuji. You're not ahead of Carolyn. You can have your moments in City like Frank Lampard did. I think that's the way I'm looking at it, in that way. I think it's maybe one goal against Arsenal would be enough for me. That would be fantastic if you do that. In comparison from one winger who's probably her days are numbered in the WSL to another player whose days in the WSL are also numbered, in JRK, who has just recently, before this podcast, just got linked to Lyon. Wild. Wow. What does that say if you're Vicky Besho? What does that say if you're Liana Joseph? What does that say if you're Eula Brand? I mean, the things that matter. I mean, I see her on the right side. I think this is a direct response to Diani being out and them having Besho as starting in that final, and Chawinga not being the right winger, or De Mornay not being the right winger that they have, being both central players or left-sided players that are more beneficial to them. But what do you think of JRK?
I think that Lyon and Chelsea are basically from the same cloth, like pickpocketing other teams to try and secure future spots. I don't think JRK is the answer for Lyon. I would take her, though. I 100% would take her. I think that the JRK and Cena link up would be one of the best in the WSL. But
so
I think
funny.
JRK.
I love Caitlin Ford. No. JRK. Yes.
No, but
hilarious.
I think JRK deserves more than what she got at Chelsea, and we always lament about that early 23-24 form of JRK being just so exceptional, and that's really the peak of JRK. And I think she's a victim of Sonia Bonpastor and the style of football that she wants to play, and I think that she should be doing basically what we saw from Aslani and just start becoming a journeywoman. Go to Italy, go to Spain, go to Germany, go wherever you want, because you have so much credibility as a winger. Yeah, you have so much credibility as a winger that you can do it anywhere, and I think that she would suit anywhere. And honestly, most teams have a Swedish forward. I'm just saying. So
yeah, but she's also a victim of the Hayes ball, where she just is only going to move to teams where she knows she's guaranteed she's going to win.
That's true.
I think that's the problem, is that those Chelsea players have been built of that ilk, where they're they're not going to move to it.
I mean, Guro Reiten, I got to.
Guro's different, because when you're going to the NWSL, it is different, and also you know when I guess it is different for a player like Guru where you were getting phased out of the team. You weren't good enough to play. Whereas JRK, we would be arguing for her to play. That is the point, is that if she was still there, if she is going to stay there, I would argue for her to play on that right side still with Alyssa on the other side. Retirements, only one, which is Lucy Hope at Everton, who is retiring, which is very sad, but also fair enough. Hats off to the things you did at Everton and all the other clubs you were at. Yeah, I know, young career. I mean, I think I don't know if it's injury driven or whatever, but it is very, very sad. But I'm still waiting on Sydney LaRue to retire. Yeah, man, we're going after NWSL legends here. I'm going after all of them. Alyssa Naya still. Just any 35-year-old in the NWSL, you're getting smoke in the next few weeks. But that is all we have for contracts, rumours, extensions, and retirements as we move on to the Benchwarmers Awards. Never bench again. Could have been Pernilla Harder. What was she doing on the bench? Could have been Bonasea. Definitely shouldn't have been on the bench. But it's the girl I spoke about pretty much the entirety of last podcast. It is Constance Picot, the new number one French keeper. Never bench that girl again. I don't care if she lets in 3 own goals. She is better than Peru Magnon, and she will be. She could be the new Loris. She could be, when they do the next song, the Ramena Coupe à la Maison, it's Constance Picot. Ale, ale, ale. Yeah, nah, she's a baller.
Mine's also a goalkeeper, but mine's a bit of a cheat. So I went for Lorena. She obviously, she started the second game. She didn't start the first game. This is why I'm putting her as a never bench again. But I think that she's so easily Brazil's number one goalkeeper. She has been for a while. And she is and was the best player across both games. And I think that coming on in the middle of the first game to then, basically keep out a clean sheet and secure your team's success. And then in the second game, basically get done off a deflection whilst having one of the best goalkeeping performances I've seen on the international stage for a while. I mean, you can't not start Lorena. She's so good.
Yeah. I mean, she's cemented it now. She just have to be. Super sub of the week, I've gone Amber Barrett. You just have to. Strasbourg go. Strasbourg legend. Goal when it matters for Ireland, gets them in the playoffs. I mean, this is big moments, magic. And I'm very, very excited for what is going to happen for them.
My super sub of the week is the double sub of Lundqvist and Rolfo. Obviously, I'm a Swedish girl at heart, so I love seeing Sweden not lose to Italy. My heart, really. But those two coming on and then basically scoring with 7 minutes of each other is exceptional, and was one of the good things that Tony G did in this international. The one good thing, maybe.
Do you want to do your come on the pod?
Yeah, my come on the pod is something that I talked to you about last night, actually, because we were seeing what the real problem with England was. And one of the things is the young players coming in and where this purgatory lies between under 23s and seniors. And I wanted to talk about Aggie Beaver-Jones and Freya Godfrey and what their role is. And really the come on the pod here is, what is this liminal space between senior football and youth football in England? Because if you're not getting picked for one, sure, you should be getting picked for the other one and continuing to playing football when you're not getting picked for the other. And I think Freya Godfrey and ABJ are those players who should be in the seniors team. And I think that there are seniors players who probably should be in the under 23s. And I think that it's one of those things that if there's no communication between coaches and the institution and where these players are, then they get left behind. And I think Freya Godfrey is one of those players where I'm looking at her and I'm going, this is a player playing at senior level for club at LCL. She's starting. She's one of their most impactful players. And at the same time, she's not getting those England minutes, which would secure not only a future in this England setup, but also would establish her and her quality as beyond that of LCL and hopefully see her move out of that LCL system. So I'm very fascinated by that whole thing. And really the come on the pod here is Serena Wiegman and the under 23 coach not communicating.
I think that's correct. I think I mentioned Godfrey in the last pod, but I didn't even mention ABJ in the sense of that ABJ is also a player that probably needs moments to get back her form because she's not getting the enough moments for Chelsea, and the moments we are seeing for Chelsea are in a World Sevens tournament, so it's even more embarrassing. But my come on the pod this week is Paula Cebollada Lopez. Yep, Leggy, you obviously know who that is, right? Yeah, you do? No, it's the ref in the Brazil-US game. Who look, I'm not, this isn't a bad or a good. This is just, I want her on the podcast. I want to know what was happening in that game. How did you feel? I want to know the decision behind each red. I kind of want to like this is the beauty of football, is that like the dream for us as WOSO journalists and WOSO like consumers is we just want to have the conversations with the people who care about it the most. Yeah, sure. And this girl cares about WOSO. Cares. There's no question about it that she would love the Benchwarmers, and she would love the pod space to talk about that game. We would do a whole pod dedicated to every red card that you gave, every single one. So we do 8 pods with you, but we could just do one and cover the game entirely and talk about your the brain department that was going on for each red, which I have no issue with because the vibes were vibing, and you keep doing your thing, Paula. You're a great ref. And I can't believe you had to ref that game. I mean, I don't know if you knew what we were getting into with that friendly, but Jesus Christ, that was some good stuff. But that's all we have for the Benchwarmers Awards. As we move into the final segment of the show, the What Would KANG Do? Number 40. 40 is always, 40-40 home, 40-40 is everything. Caitlin 40. I mean, I wish, but we usually do a song every 5. We are going to do a song. I usually do a song every 5. That is correct. We talked about last week was the KANG genocide. This was a big supporting moment, a big like critical crux moment of KANG's career, right? She had to deal with the fact that the Holy Trinity had just been like eviscerated from nearly every competition except for the Spirit, who were trying to save her. But how did she respond to the KANG genocide? She signed Alexia Putellas. She signed the fucking GOAT right there. She signed Lorena. Queen KANG signs Queen, right? There is no way to describe this other than Michelle KANG is a monster. She is a monster. So I thought of probably I thought to myself, what is the most slay queen, domineering like song? What is the most like overarching moment of like feminine expression magic in pop culture, in hip hop, in anything? And I thought to myself, the only way to justify this moment is to get Nicki Minaj's verse from Monster. Yeah, so we're talking about, this is Kanye West and Mickey, not Nicki, KANG Naj, right? Obviously Mickey KANG. Who just, this is the verse of all verses. This is the way to describe this moment. And I've tried to do something here. I don't know how well this is going to go.
This is why you were singing Mickey before the podcast. I was like,
it was stuck in my head because I've tried it once. We'll see how we go. And if I don't do it well, then you're going to get a big cut and a big re-record. But we're going to take our time. We're going to get in the zone. Do I need glasses? I need glasses. We need glasses. But we need glasses, and we need to lock the hell in because this is not an easy verse to do. But we're going to set up. This is called WOSO Monster. In 3, 2, 1, go. Pull up in the WOSO down to spend the visa. I'm a bad bitch that came from South Korea. Putellas is my trunker. LCL runs soccer. I might be the KANG, but watch Lorena conquer. First things first, goal kick latte. Play short to Jana, flick to Ken a day. Alana to Lucia, back to Saki too. Play to Paris, Fritz to Freya, who can run on through. Cross to Izzy, Kosovaro, Danny, pick and choose. But now you got Lorena, so it's hers to shoot. She ball in, 3-time Ballon d'Or, coming Bromley's way. Call me kangaroo, I bounce checks
with my money, please. Let me get this straight. Wait, I'm the bookie. Bet Lexi gets LCL 10 times the GA. 2.5 for a year. We'll figure it out. Yeah, my money's so tall that Renard can't climb it. JRK and Weir can't fight it. Lexi got the contract that she signed it. Find your way for CEO, I'll get violent. How can WOSO be so one-track minded? I'm KANG, all skill, no LUCK. Forget Bradshaw, fuck Sonia, she's fake. Can't stop me taking KANG for Nikki remake. I'll say pride of Lions done my way. Bought another team, yeah, it's a mild day. Aside Ramey, who can stand behind me? I'm young me, myself, and I'm right way. No pink wig, injured, pute us. Can think big, get cash, don't you blink fast. But look at what you saw. KANG is gonna win more. I'm a woman's football monster. That is all I've got.
That was incredible.
We tried. We definitely tried. Bars. When Leggy says bars, I know I've tried to do what I've got to do. But that is all we have for What Would KANG Do? That is all we have for the podcast this week. Thank you all so much for listening. We are on Spotify. We are on Instagram. We are on YouTube. On YouTube and Spotify, we have our full audio, full visual spectaculars, respectively. If you want to see our beautiful faces, jump on YouTube or jump on TikTok for all our short form content where we are punching out TikToks week in, week out. I mean, there's a lot of short form content that's going to come to you your way this week with over 3 hours of content today. But the reason we do 3 hours of content every week is because we love WOSO. It doesn't matter if there's no games on. It doesn't matter if there's no domestic football, international football. We watch them all. I mean, I feel bad. I feel bad as someone who loves WOSO. I'd love to talk about Switzerland and Scotland and all the Group Bs and stuff, but there's only so much we can do in a single week. Yeah, Turkey, the up and coming rise of Turkey as well. Just crazy ballers all around the world, and we try to cover it all. I'm sorry if we don't get to your country, but I mean, if you recommend us, if you comment to us, we will do it. There is no question about it because we love WOSO. We love covering every grass of it, every bit around the world, and we don't just do it every second, every minute, every day, every hour. We do it every week.
Every week?
Every week? Every week. Thank you all for listening so much. Keep warming the benches and have a great week, all you WOSO monsters. Pink wig, injured, pute ass. KANG think, I screwed it up at the end. No, I screwed it up at the end.